5 things that suck about electric cars that no one mentions. What's up, everybody? It is safe to say that electric cars are here to stay. More and more companies are introducing electric vehicles, and it's undoubtedly changing the automotive landscape, mostly for the better. Although there are numerous advantages to owning an electric vehicle, which of course everyone talks about, there are still some things that suck if you're an EV owner. I won't mention the usual stuff like the high prices, range anxiety, or slow charging, but here are the things that no one talks about. Number 1. Slow top speed. Regardless of the great acceleration figures many EVs have, their top speeds are often stuck at a very disappointing 80 miles per hour or so. Due to the single-geared nature of the electric motor, the Volkswagen e-Golf, the Kia Soul EV, or the BMW i3 all have top speeds well below the 100-mile-an-hour mark. Not really acceptable in today's world. Yes, there are blisteringly fast electric cars like the Rimac Concept S with a top speed of 228 miles per hour, but most ordinary electric cars are quite slow. Although their top speeds correspond with the speed limits in most countries, with the exception of Germany's Autobahn, a low top speed is still a huge downside. In the case of an emergency, a high top speed can be a useful or even life-saving feature to avoid an accident or get to the hospital. It also allows police and ambulance forces to actually start buying and using electric cars, something they cannot currently do to any great extent. An example of this is the Volkswagen Up. The top speed of the current 74 horsepower Volkswagen Up, a tiny city car, is a modest 106 miles per hour. Yet, its 80 horsepower EV version, the e-Up, has a top speed of just 84 miles per hour, 22 miles per hour slower. Yet, it's double the price. Not good. Number 2. Small interior space, especially in the rear. Despite the advancements in technology and constant innovation happening in the industry, batteries still take up a significant amount of space. Most manufacturers have settled on mounting them under the floor of the vehicle in a skateboard-type design. This sounds perfect in theory, but in real life it does mean that the floor has to be much higher than a conventional car, which takes precious space away from the passengers, especially in the rear. This can lead to a crouching type position, where the passenger's knees are not supported. To counter this, seats have to be made higher, but then this leads to less headroom. If you're thinking about buying an electric vehicle for its spaciousness, whilst they gain in some areas, no engine taking up space for instance, they do lose in others. Expensive electric cars like the brand new 2020 Porsche Taycan are fighting this problem with their foot garage, an area where part of the battery is cut away for legroom, but this does eat into the car's range. Number 3. Highway range. Although the most significant concern with electric vehicles is the range, most people's concerns aren't especially justified. The average driver drives around 30 miles per day. The range aspect that's more concerning, however, is the highway range. If you read the fine print, you'll notice that the quoted range figures are often combined driving or city driving, and there's a good reason for that. Rather unlike combustion engines, electric vehicles do very well in city driving, but perhaps less so on the highway. All modern EVs use regenerative braking to add power to the batteries. Since there is a lot of braking in city driving, the battery pack gets a lot of power back, so less energy is wasted. As well as this, when stationary, the motor's doing absolutely nothing. For highway driving, however, there's far less braking or no braking at all, which means the batteries are quickly drained. If you're planning longer trips with your electric vehicle, make sure to check its real-world highway range, particularly at your country's maximum speed limit, ideally when it's raining and uphill. Number 4. Weight. One of the main downsides of electric vehicles is the weight, and most EVs are significantly heavier than comparable petrol or diesel-powered cars. The reason is simple too. Batteries are big and bulky, and there aren't really many ways around this. For example, a Kia Soul with a 1.6-litre petrol engine weighs about 1.3 tons, but the Kia Soul EV is 200 kilograms heavier at 1.5 tons, despite not having an engine up front. Not too bad, but 200 kilograms does affect driving dynamics, braking, and tyre wear. It's essentially the same as having 3 of your buddies in the car at all times. On the opposite side of the spectrum is the Tesla Model S, which weighs a whopping 2.1 tons. Comparable combustion cars weigh at least 300 kilograms less. In most EVs, the battery pack adds around 200 kilograms, but for the models like the Tesla Model X, the battery pack is over 500 kilograms. They've used aluminium for both the chassis and body panels to keep weight down, but this adds to the cost significantly. When an aluminium chassis is not used, like on the Audi e-tron, weight skyrockets significantly. Audi's new electric SUV weighs a whopping 2,565 kilograms, and that's still using aluminium body panels. Also, like a combustion car which becomes more efficient as the fuel goes down, the car becomes lighter, EVs are the opposite. The car weighs the same at 300 miles range or 3 miles range. This means that you've still got to lug a big, heavy battery around, no matter what. EVs are still more efficient, but it's still something to consider. Number 5. Easily traceable. You've probably never thought about it, but owning an electric vehicle, especially some of the more advanced models, could actually be putting your privacy or even safety at risk. Paranoid? Well, you should be. With all those sensors, autonomous driving systems, cameras, permanent 4G connection, and computer systems that memorize when and where you've charged your car, your daily activity is tracked, and there's potential for it to fall into the wrong hands. Currently in our combustion cars, they're pretty dumb. Leave your phone at home and your privacy will be preserved. Not so for EVs. Do you really want corporations and governments knowing everywhere you go? Okay, before things get all Alex Jones, you might not mind personally, but you don't have to be a criminal to have concerns. What if this information was hacked and leaked to the public? Large companies have been hacked before and will be hacked again, especially as this data is extremely valuable. Knowing where people have been with video and GPS data, backdated for years, would not only violate people's privacy, but could reveal company secrets, put famous people at risk, or even reveal people's driving habits to car thieves or burglars. No one ever talks about this with electric vehicles, but to some, it's very scary stuff. So there you are, 5 things that suck about electric cars that no one talks about. I'm not an electric car hater, but neither am I a fanboy who simply forgets about their faults. Did I miss any other things that suck? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching. Cheers!